Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. So friends, what I'm going to show you guys today is winning. The Democrats tell us constantly, they tell us all the time in fact, especially on the issues. I mean, popular vote, sure, New York and California do great work there, but on important issues, absolutely not. Democrats pretend that they're the party of compassion. They're the party of caring about the little guy. And they got the policies to make the world a better place. Well, apparently, as we continue to learn, as we continue to see, Democrats are good at accomplishing one thing and one thing alone, and that's chaos and policy failure. And there is no better issue to showcase policy failure and complete chaos than Democrat immigration policy. The moment Joe Biden took over, I mean, the second he got in that office, he pretty much nuked most of Donald Trump's executive orders and then went on a freaking rampage signing his own. Donald Trump's immigration and border policies evaporated into thin air pretty much on Inauguration Day 2021, and it's been complete chaos ever since. Initially, it was mostly on Texas's doorstep, and they were just expected to clean up the Democrat mess. But of course, as we know, Governor Greg Abbott and other Republican governors weren't willing to sign on to such a ridiculous agreement, and so they started shipping migrants to big Democrat cities like New York City. Eric Adams claiming recently that the influx of illegal migrants is going to, quote, destroy New York City.
You know, the city is being destroyed by the migrant crisis.
Well, finally, Democrats seem to get it. That's the thing, the moment it's in their backyard, all of a sudden, they start to realize what complete incompetent imbeciles they are. Protests have emerged in New York City. I mean, it's getting wild out there. Let's see where the Democrat Party is, even with their own voters in New York City. Surprise, surprise, it's not looking so hot. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so apparently on the issue of immigration, the Democrats, they're on the right side of history. Well, apparently not. Here's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez trying to participate during a recent New York City press conference on the issue of the migrant crisis in the city.
And that we are joining with the city and state administrators.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and members of our with that.
Yes, and ultimately I think that there are 3 points of consensus here that are very important in getting a solution to this issue. The first is that there is consensus here across geography and states on increased federal resources to cities.
Pretty much the entire time she was unable to get a word in. When she was able to speak, it was a bunch of empty platitudes and, leftist nonsense. A whole bunch of words, a whole lot of speaking, but nothing actually relevant or no actual meaning behind the words themselves. Not exactly words of substance, but the protesters themselves, they were very clear. Politicians go on and on and on and say nothing. Pissed off citizens don't need political rhetoric, don't need empty platitudes, don't need overly academic nonsense monologues. Their message is 3 words. Couldn't be clearer. Close the border. And friends, this is in left-wing Democrat stronghold New York City, Manhattan. This event didn't happen in rural Alabama. The Democrat Party is getting absolutely freaking owned on the issue of immigration because most people see it for what it is. And you know what? A lot of their constituents are starting to see it. Moments like these really put it into perspective.
Do you want to say something about what's happening here in New York City?
Sorry.
Do you want to understand what's happening here in New York City? The schools of
New York is welcoming countless migrants who set up this center here at the Roosevelt Hotel to process these migrants, to make sure they're fully vaccinated, to make sure to connect them with relatives and send them on their way if they know where they want to go, to give them employment counseling. And what?
You know where they're going on the tour because there are some issues?
I'm sorry?
There are some issues in the schools in New York City.
There are issues in the what?
The schools in New York City.
What about them?
Okay, there's an overload of students and we need more ESL
Yeah, well, we
teachers.
certainly need more ESL teachers, and we need more help from the federal government without question.
Again, it's pretty much the exact same thing, right? Jerry Nadler responding with a complete political non-answer, but the voter herself, or the voters themselves, have very clear issues. The the issue at schools. In other words, public services. I think a lot of, I don't want to call them needy because, most of them are not needy, but let's just call them more vulnerable Democrat voters at the lower end of the economic scale. These are people who vote for the Democrats in droves every single election season because they need help. They need government assistance. They rely on government programs. That's the simple reality. These are people at, for the most part, the bottom of the economic food chain, and their kids aren't exactly going to private schools. And of course, they're in the public system that's currently being inundated with illegal migrants, and it's clearly an issue for them. They don't have the resources to deal with it. And their kids going to those schools are the ones who are getting the short end of the stick. I think lifelong Democrat voters are realizing that they're voting for the Democrat Party, who supposedly has their best interest at heart, and these people are starting to realize that the Democrats just talk and talk and talk. They play the talking game when it comes to walking. They aren't anywhere to be found when it comes to actually sticking up to their constituents that vote for them every single election cycle. They are MIA, missing in frickin' action. I would be pissed. And people have the right to be pissed. When you have all of these issues in your neighborhood, when you feel like you're struggling to get by, and the Democrats during the election season to get your vote tell you everything that you want to hear, and then when push comes to shove, well, speaking of push, you're getting pushed out of the way for somebody of higher priority, a non-American citizen who is taking advantage of the system and trying to sneak in without going through a legal immigration channel. It's absolutely absurd. It's obviously unsustainable. It's obviously garbage policy, and New York residents are freaking pissed off. I don't blame them in the slightest. And really, I just hope people are starting to realize that Democrat rhetoric during the election season is not Democrat policy. Democrats campaign on this incredible vision, but if you look at the actual policies, if you get down to the freaking details, it's extreme left-wing globalist policy that does not represent or benefit your interest. The interest of the average lower middle class and lower class person, or working class people, is not in line with the elitist DNC Wall Street bought and paid for puppet agenda. Wake up, folks. You have a bunch of extreme Democrats who are doing the bidding of the globalist elite. Compassion. No, there's no compassion. They're trying to import cheap labor to put downward pressure on your jobs, or downward pressure on your wages rather, and of course overinflate the labor market, which is what causes the downward pressure on those jobs. And of course, the second part of their plan, import millions of new loyal Democrat voters, which is probably why they're so angry that these new Democrat voters are all being shipped to New York City instead of staying in Texas and Arizona, where Democrats would make some serious gains in terms of the electoral college if those illegal migrants were to, someday be able to vote there, possibly through amnesty or other methods. It's as clear as day. This one's the biggest scam you could imagine. And of course, there's the negative and the dark side, the fact that cartels are making billions. Women, young children are also being trafficked in a massive human trafficking network, where the start of that pipeline is South America across the border into Texas and other border states, essentially. Wake up to the scam, folks. It is clear that the Democrats are not who they present themselves to be. And what also seems to be clear, which is really astonishing, is this sort of grassroots political counterculture that continues to grow in New York City. Honestly, I never thought I'd say this, but after the last election cycle, and considering the general sentiment that we're seeing in New York City, and of course New York State as well, I really wouldn't be surprised at this point if things continue the way they are right now, that New York State might get closer and closer to a battleground state. Of course, Manhattan will stick blue, but on the state level, New Yorkers are pissed, and there is a clear political shift underway because people are finally realizing that the Democrat platform is extreme and bad for the average American. Actually, here's the poll to defend that statement. Which political party in the United States do you consider to be more extreme? 45% of respondents responding the Democrat Party, 39% the Republican Party. Not exactly in line with the media narrative, huh? Those extreme, terrible Republicans and their crazy ideas. Well, it seems like Republicans are resonating a whole lot more with the average, rational, common thinking individual. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.